2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome to Chit Chat with Jed and Co, the show where everyone has their say. Can we ask you please subscribe free to our YouTube channel, comment and give us a like. Today's show comes from Studio 23 and is sponsored by St Mirren legend Tony Fitzpatrick's Legacy Comps Prize Bonanza. You can win fantastic prizes which includes a share of £10,000, up to £1,000 a day, 7 days a week, vouchers and so much more. One of the main objectives for Tony's Legacy Comps Prize Bonanza is to help youth sports clubs, charities and general good causes. Give them a visit at legacycomps.com. Now today's guest was born in Glasgow Milton Housing Scheme, was into the punk scene as a youngster. He had huge success as a songwriter, record producer and manager. He's written and produced 7 number ones and over 25 top 10 hits worldwide as bands such as Westlife and Busted. He won an American BMI, European Airplay and Living Legends Award. His music has made TV and radio and has featured in songwriting in the Fame Academy, which is absolutely incredible. Worked with pop guru Simon Cowell. As a manager, he continues to spot, develop and nurture talent that have went on to have huge global success. He manages and performs with the reunited Bay City Rollers. He is great friends and works with megastar Rod Stewart on various projects. He's even been upstaged by a Rolling Stones legend. He's a curator and lead singer and a tribute to his late friend Shane MacGowan, which is a debut sellout at the Edinburgh Fringe. Every day it was sold out. Welcome to the show, Johnny Mack.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Absolutely
great to have you here, Johnny. Now, the viewers are going to be absolutely gripped to this story. Honestly, when I was doing my research on it, the hairs in my arms were sticking up there, that introduction. But let's go right back to the beginning. You were born in Maryhill and brought up in Glasgow's Milton.
That's right. That's right.
And a singing family, a buzzing family. What was that like?
I was born in Maryhill, and then there was a fire in the flat, so my parents and my grandparents all moved to Milton, or their Milton as it's known, and that's where we grew up. We grew up in Ronaldsay Street with my 5 sisters and my brother. I was the oldest of 7, and we had a great time. So it was an interesting place to live. It was a bit wild, to say the least, and but we had a great time. And all my siblings there, my grandparents, all my cousins. And so it was great, and that's really where we got our kind of love of music. There was always music in our house, from traditional Irish music to my dad was a big music fan, so he'd get up for work. He worked in a bakery. He'd get up at 2:30 in the morning, and I'd go and sit with him and he'd watch him shaving, having his tea, and he'd put on records. It'd be Frank Sinatra, Neil Diamond, just all sorts of records. My dad's a big music fan, and my Uncle Dennis would wander in with Ways and Strays from the pub, playing guitars and singing Irish songs. So that just became, I thought that's what happened everywhere. So that's where I really got my love of music.
That gave you a start into it.
Yeah.
Now, I believe you were into the punk scene back in the day.
Well, I was, yeah. It's like, it was probably in 1976, 77, when my bigger cousins, Dennis and George, they were going back and forth to London, which was the equivalent of going to the moon. When you're from Milton, we couldn't believe that they were going to London. And they were coming back with, I remember the first time George coming back with the Ramones' first album, and, his hair was all cut off spiky and all that, and he'd the tight trousers. And so then he would start to bring more and more records back, and that's the Clash and all that. So that's how we get into it, and that's when we started our first bands.
Now, talking about bands, you're behind some of the biggest names in the music history. Johnny, how did that happen? And tell us about some of them.
Well, I think that through having bands and stuff, and as soon as you start punk rock bands and everything, and it was great, it's a great experience and a great time, and that was a great period in music, But I say before that, I loved, because I'd get my dad sometimes in the vans, and we were listening to the radio all the time, so you'd pick up, the first bands I loved were the Bay City Rollers and ABBA and T-Rex and David Bowie. They were all in that was another great period of music. So all that seeped in, and then the punk rock thing came, and that gave you an excuse or a reason to start bands. It was there's a chord, start a band. So that's what we done, and so that kind of drove me into doing that. And then when it became apparent that I wasn't going to make any money out of that in my 20s, I thought, what am I going to do now? And I was petrified of getting a real job. And I thought, I wondered the songwriting thing might work, because people always like the songs. So a friend of mine, I'd met a guy called Steve Gilmore. He was starting a boy band, because Take That had just started. And he was saying to me, look, this boy band thing I think is going to go. I'm starting this band called 911. Do you want to write some songs for it? So me and Gordy Gowdy, my songwriting partner, who happens to be in the Simple Minds now, we started writing these songs, and the first bunch of songs that we wrote were like Body Shaking, Don't Make Me Wait, Love Sensation, Party People Friday Night. So it was the whole first raft of hits. So we worked hard at it, but we kind of got lucky that the first bunch of songs, with 911, who were just starting, and that scene was happening. And it was really punk rock the way it was done, really, because Steve didn't have any money. We didn't have any money. He started his own wee label, and he done all the marketing, taking them around schools and building a fan base. So it was real kind of DIY, where you had Take That, signed to, I think they were signed to Universal Records, getting millions spent on them. We had £1 million getting spelt on 911, So it was great. So it was a kind of real punk rock ethic, and we were very, very fortunate that gave us our first hits, because nobody's picking up the phone for a guy from Milton and a guy from Partick trying to sell your songs. So that's kind of how it came about, and that's what gave us our first real break in the music industry.
Absolutely, and I see big names like Westlife in there as well. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, once you start to have a few hits, then weirdly the phone starts to ring.
Yeah.
So weird that, but that's kind of how it works, So
That's how it started, and as your story progresses here, it's just honestly unbelievable. Now, I believe you won an American BMI, you won a European Airplay, and a Living Legends Award. Tell us about that, John.
Yeah, the BMI is an interesting one, because I said we're working with 911, and obviously I think the first singles were in the top late, bottom end of the top 20. Second one went in top 20. Third one was like number 2. Then all of a sudden they were massive. So once that happens, then other people want more of your songs. So I'd written a song called Baby When the Lights Go Out, and I'd actually written it for 911. But they'd signed to Virgin Records, but the new boss of Virgin Records didn't like the song. So I'd met Simon Cowell, and I phoned Simon, I took it over to him, and he loved it. And he said, I want that for my new band called Five. And he said, I think this is going to be a massive hit in America. And Simon knows a thing or two.
Just a bit.
So Five recorded the song. I think it was top 3 in the UK. They went off to America, and it blew up. We were top 10 in America for 6 months, over 1 million airplay, and we won the BMI award for over 1 million airplay in America in the space of a year. So that was spectacular. That wasn't on the bingo card, No. So, but none of it was, but that in particular. So yeah, that's that. So that was great, and and that's how all these things progressed. And the Fame Academy, people asked me would I audition for that. Simon gave me a nod for that as well, bless him. He said, there's this new thing coming on, the pop, I think it was Pop Stars or something, it just started. He said, there's this thing in the BBC, I think you'd be good at it, you should go and give it a go.
And that's how that came about.
That's how that came about. I went down an audition for it with actually no intent I was going to get. First of all, I'm dyslexic, so I really do struggle with so the first thing they do is they put up, auto cues and all that. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to struggle with that. So I just blethered on and talked rubbish and just got the kind of main headlines from it and just went off on a wee tangent. So I thought I would never hear from them again. And then they phoned me up and offered me the gig. So it was great. And it was great to do, getting in a bunch of people in a big house, something high. I lived in Chiswick at the time, so it was easy. You could just zoom along the motorway, go there. I had to stay there for a while, right enough. So you would stay there for 6 weeks and every day showing people about songwriting and helping them. And obviously it was live on the telly and stuff. And then you'd have the Friday night show. It was great. It was a brilliant experience. Great thing to do, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So I've done that twice.
Absolutely incredible. So talking about that TV, so your music has made TV, radio and film. And so tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I think that it's the same thing. Once you start to have a few hits, then people start to look more at you for other things. Or the beautiful thing about having a song that does really well is it takes on a whole life of its own. So out of the blue, people will contact you and say, we've got this film, we've got this TV show, we've got, we want to use your song. They get in touch with the publishers. And then people ask me directly, would I make music for certain things? There was a TV show called The Ministry of Mayhem, which was on every Saturday morning with Ant and Dec and Holly, and it was kind of throwing pies, and it was kind of based on Tiz Was and all that. And they were wanting to make a kind of punky type sounding intro music. So I wrote a song called The Ministry of Mayhem, and that was on every Saturday morning and played at the end and all that. So that was great. And we get songs on films, Stepmom with Julia Roberts. We had Body Shakings on the very last episode of Dairy Girls, and it's in the new Disney film. So songs keep... A song, once it's got a life, it just keeps going. It's with the Echo and the Bunnymen on the Vampire Diaries, the opening scenes of the Vampire. I'm very proud of that because I'm a huge Bunnymen fan. So things like that, and it's wonderful. It's just great.
It must be incredible. You could be driving in the car, or you're sitting watching the television, the house, to see your songs that you've written to come up. How does that feel?
Oh, it's great. I never take it for granted, and and I'm always absolutely thrilled to hear it, because I remember what it was like not to have any of that, or dreaming about hearing your songs on the radio or seeing it on the telly or something like that. It's just an incredible feeling, and I don't ever take it for granted. I'm very proud of it. I'm very happy it happened, and not just me, for my co-writers, my co-producers, and the bands, and the whole thing that it takes to make that happen. It's just joyous. It's brilliant.
You can see that. You can hopefully the viewers will see that coming through the camera. You can see it in your face, John.
Yeah,
you go up and get it.
It's the greatest thing. It's the greatest thing.
Now, what was it like? I was watching television last night, and there he was, Simon Cowell. What was he like to work with?
Simon was great. Yeah. Simon was a fantastic guy. It's like, obviously you get the pantomime Simon that you see on the telly, the kind of lovable rogue who, but he definitely speaks his mind. I've had a few meetings with Simon where I've left going, okay, he hates all of that, but he knows what he's doing. And tell you what, and he certainly made me a better songwriter. He made me a producer, and I learnt a lot from him. You go and have a meeting with him, and he knew exactly what he wanted. And if you wanted to deliver exactly what he wanted, he wasn't going to use it. So it was simple as that. But I liked working for him because it would give you a clear target. Look, for example, we were going to have a meeting about Westlife, and he kind of laid it on me. He said, right, I want a single for Westlife that sounds very Celtic. You're Scottish, you've got Irish grandparents and all. If you don't do this, it's shame on you and all that. I'm like, okay, more pressure. And but he gave you an exact target. He said, I want a song that has the feel of Mull of Kintyre, and it makes you want to cry the same way Fairy Tale of New York does. And he rhymed off all these other songs, some traditional Irish songs, that he was saying, I want that feel, but I wanted to make it sound like a modern hit for this band, Westlife. So we went, and with a target like that, luckily we came up with Queen of My Heart, which was number one. So again, when you're working with somebody that knows exactly what he wants, it's great. The other end of that is you sit there with a whole bunch of tracks that you spent weeks and weeks working on, and he sits with his CD player and his cigarette like that, playing, and he'll listen to the first 10, 15 seconds and stop it, go to the next one, next, and you go, come back next week, and you go, okay. And off you trot. But I don't mind that, because I'd rather someone tell you exactly what they want, tell you how it is, and get it done, and away you go. Because a lot of record company executives were kind of fluffy and just, they didn't have a clue what they wanted, so it was pretty chaotic. And that's more difficult to work with than someone like Simon, who's brilliant, and a lovely guy, by the way, a great guy.
Good, I hope he's going to watch this.
I hope so, yeah.
Now, as a manager, John, you continue to spot and nurture talent that have went on to have global success. Any share of some names you want to share with who you nurtured to go on and?
Well, I think I've been very lucky. It's once you start to have a bit of success, then it makes it a bit easier. So, working with the likes of Westlife and Five, then in Blue, so you have a bunch of hits, and then people want you to get involved with other things. So that's great. But I was always one, because we started out making bands likes of 911, and I would always kind of get in tow with other bands that were starting and try and help them along a wee bit. And the next band, I suppose, that really done that was Busted. So a friend of mine, Richard Rashman, who's an LA lawyer, he would always making bands, and I was doing some songs for him for different projects. And then he brought me a bunch of kids that were in Chiswick while I lived in Chiswick, and he brought them over to our flat, and we wickled them down to James. It was James, Matt, and Tom from McFly, weirdly, and we thought, right, they could make a great band, because they were pretty decent players. Even they were only young, 15 and 16, and you could tell that they were pretty good writers even that early on. And they had the look and the enthusiasm, and everything was great about them. Tom was too young, so he went off and they started McFly, which worked out pretty good for him. And we found Charlie. We'd done auditions and we found Charlie. And Busted was born. And so we made the whole first Busted album, which was a hook. Again, it harps back to my love of punk rock, and it was a boy band with guitars and attitude, and it gave us a chance to make records that had big thrashy guitars and big pounding drums and really quirky, energetic, youthful lyrics. But those boys were fiercely talented, and so I was delighted to see them succeed.
Absolutely. And I think when we talk to people in football, and music sounds the exact same. You can have all the talent in the world, but you got to put in the hours, John.
Oh, 100%. And they were completely driven. As you get older, you realise things are only going to work if people are working as hard as you or harder. So, with the Busted lads, it was great. They were so laser focused, And Richard Rashman is a great marketing head on him as well. And so he was great as well. So I think the combination of everything, and it was great fun. The thing about it is just the biggest amount of fun. You go to work every day, you're battering out DAG, you're recording drums, you're singing, great songs, the year 3000 and all that, and it's a joy, so it's not work. I've been so lucky. I don't think I used to be a dishwasher in the CCA. I think between that and then I worked in the education department for a wee while during the summer, and then that kind of went on for, that's the only, and that was great because I used that as my office. So I had a phone and a fax machine. I could send people stuff and until they bumped me. But between that and being a dishwasher is really the only two jobs I've had. Everything else has just been making records.
But you've worked hard at it, John. And when I was doing my research as well, you went in a writing camp. Is that right?
Did a few writing camps, yeah.
Yeah, you did one in particular to Norway, I've memory set.
I did, right,
is that right? Tell us about that. How you're gigging with creative geniuses.
When you go to these writing camps, usually the publisher's setting them up, and the record companies will back it. So if they've got big artists that they're looking to make songs for, they'll send you to great places. I've been in Finland, Norway, Stockholm, where I ended up living in Stockholm for a few years. I loved that so much. But yeah, we're in Norway, and that was for, I think that was a camp for Kylie Minogue, writing songs for Kylie Minogue. And it was beautiful. It was in December, I remember that, and it was in a beautiful log cabin, all set up, all these rooms, studios, and you just write with a bunch of people around the world, coming up with mad ideas, and you leave at the end of the week, and there's a whole bunch of songs, and the record companies sift through them. They give you a target. Again, I like things that have got a target, so they'll say, this is what we're looking for, this is the kind of lyric style we're looking for, this is the kind of sound of the record, and away you go. So brilliant, great fun. But I'd done them in Stockholm, and I had such amazing time there. that ended up living there. So
Well,
which was brilliant. Freezing cold in the winter, they would make Glasgow look like the tropics,
right.
and roasting hot in the summer. So it was perfect.
There you go. There you go. Now, when I asked you to be on today's show, I knew you would shang along.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to get that
I
one.
like that. Well done.
See my wee link there, John. Now, you now manage and perform, and they were one of the world's best known, but they're now reunited, the Bay City Rollers.
Bay
Right?
City
My
Rollers.
sister's watching this. She's going to be absolutely... When I told her I was interviewing you today and you're reunited, she would love to come along to one of the shows. How did that happen?
It's that's good. Well, the Bay City Rollers were definitely one of my first ever loves in music. So I'd maybe been, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something, when their TV show was on, and I remember watching it, and I was amazed first of all by the sound and the excitement around them. Just seeing all the screaming girls and everything, you think, okay, who are these guys? And then the songs are amazing, and I just think their energy and their colour and the tartan and all that was incredible. And then when they were interviewed at the end, or they spoke at the end, I realised they sounded like me. You know, from Edinburgh, but but they kind of sounded like me, and that really struck me. I thought, wow, so guys like us can do this, even though I was only young. So that made a huge impression on me. But you know, I just loved the songs. Then I say a bit with helped my dad in the van or whatever, and then the hits were coming. You know, Summer Love Sensation, Shang-a-Lang. You know, Only Want to Be With You. They were just, you know, Saturday Night. They were just incredible. So these songs kind of seeped in, and I was a huge fan of the Rollers, although it was by and large, you know, teenage girls. But I'm sure looking back now, there's probably more and more teenage guys that loved them but didn't want to say anything because all the girls fancied them, you know.
Aye.
But I just thought they were amazing, and what an amazing achievement! 5 guys from the schemes in Edinburgh to go on to become the world's biggest band. For 4 years, they were the world's biggest band.
Yeah.
America, Canada, China, Japan, you know, UK, Europe. They were just... So I was a huge fan. And in my later days, I'd won an award. I was lucky enough to win an award, and I was asked at this award, was there anything else I would like to do? And I happened to say, oh man, I would love to get the Bay City Rollers back together again.
Right.
And the next day, Les phoned me. So I was kind of flabbergasted. So Les had contacted some PR people that were running this award, and he phoned me at the blue and just said, I seen your thing on the telly. You know, I'd like to give that a go. I was like, wow. So then I tracked down Woody, and then Woody spoke to Alan, and away we went. We had a big meeting, and I said, look, I want to put my energy into this the same way I've done for Busted or whatever. I want to do that and give the Rollers another go, because I don't ever think they ever got the credibility or the nod I think they deserved for the brilliant records that they made, and for what they'd done for Scotland, and I think what they'd done for music in general. Bands like Mud and Sweet and all that I loved as well, all got a nod, or T-Rex, but I don't think the Rollers ever got that. You know, they were amazing. So that was my focus, was trying to kind of bring it all back, and we did. We sold it four nights in a row at the Barlands. We didn't know if anybody was going to come, or you know, or 20 people or 2,000. 4 nights sold out straight away, and then we went on. We done the same thing in London, at the Hammersmith Apollo, the classic. We done nights in a row there, Manchester, Ireland, and then the Hydro, sold at the Hydro Tea in the Park.
Wow.
It was amazing, you know. So, and that was with Les, Alan, and Woody. Clem Buck from Blondie was going to be the drummer, but we'd sold all the tickets. So I'd said to Clem, don't worry about it. We're going to crack on, because he's a huge fan as well. Right. That's the other thing. People don't realise the Rollers have got all these, you know, iconic celebrity fans, from Malcolm McLaren, Vivienne Westwood, the Ramones. The Ramones loved the Bay City Rollers. In Joey's Ramones book, it opens with, we only wanted to be the Bay City Rollers.
Wow.
And they stole the chant, hey, ho, let's go, from Saturday Night. So yeah, the Rollers made a huge mark on the world, and I'm now proud to still be part of it. I'm now in the band with Woody. I've managed the band since 2015, and dare I say, we got it back to being a big thing again. And I'm very proud of it, and great friends with Woody, and And I was with Alan and Les too. So yeah, I'm very, very proud of that achievement.
Super looking forward to John to coming to the next gig in the guest
Come
list.
come along, bring your tartan, shang-a-lang. Yeah.
Shang-a-lang. Now, this interview just gets better and better. You're great friends and perform with the mega star, Sir Rod Stewart. Right?
Yes.
That must be just off the scale. How did that come about?
That's a strange one as well. Fun enough, I met Rod briefly. I met him twice briefly. I met him at the Fame Academy. He came in and done this. You do a thing where I can't remember what they called it now, but they had mega stars come in to show the students, to give them their advice on how to deal with the industry and give them tips and all. So I met him briefly there. And it just said a quick hello, and he noticed us from Glasgow. And the first thing, what team do you support? So I support Celtic. He's like, great. Right. And then the next time I seen him was in Seville, when I met him with a few friends of mine. He was there with Tom Hunter, and we were a ticket short. It's a wee story I've not really told many people. We were a ticket short. Me, my dad, my pal Big Doc, Thomas, my cousin. Can't remember who else was with us. And but we were a ticket short. And and Tom said, "Do you want to meet?" I said, "I'd love to meet Rod." So I met Rod, talked to him briefly, and I said to Tom, I'm joking after saying, "You don't have another ticket, do you?" And he went, laughing, "No, who's getting another ticket?" And Rod went, "I might be able to get you one." Wow. He went in a lift, went up the stairs, came back down, and gave me a ticket. I'd only met him for 30 seconds. He didn't know who the ticket was for. He didn't know, could have been one of the Mad Squad for the Milton, and. Off we went, and we got another ticket, and so that was great. So I knew he was a great guy then, and then years later, I make records for Celtic. We done Best Days of Our Life, which we got in the charts with a whole bunch of famous people in it, from Billy Connolly, Noel Gallagher, Echo and the Bunnymen. So I kind of dragged in a bunch of my mates to help with this record. Shane MacGowan, that's how I met Shane, and we got this record in the charts for one of the Celtic charities, and that's kind of that was part of the whole Celtic thing. And then I started making more and more music for Celtic, for the DVDs and for the training, for the and Rod heard some of these songs, and one in particular he loved, and he contacted me, sent an email, and my wife phoned me and said, "I think Rod Stewart's just sent you an email." I was like, "Nah, that'll be my mate Paddy Dolan, who likes to take the." Mm-hmm. And I thought, "Nah, it'll be Paddy Dolan." And I got back saying, "Is this Rod Stewart?" And he sent me a thing. He said, "Just phone me on this number." I thought, this is a wind up. Right. And I phoned it, and it was Rod Stewart. And
unmistakable voice.
I know, that's the thing. You can't do a Rod Stewart properly without it being him. And he said, "I hope you don't mind, but I found this piece of music on the Celtic channel, and I totally love it. And it's you singing, but I've changed the words. I hope you don't mind." I was like, "Fill your boots, Rod. Fill your boots." I'm a huge Rod fan. The Faces, my cousin Dennis Brady, he brought us up with the Faces and all the early Rod stuff. And so for me, it was, and obviously global rock star, icon. So I was thrilled with that. And Rod said, "Let's celebrate. Where are you tomorrow?" I was like, "Well, I'm in Glasgow tomorrow." He's like, "Great, I'm coming up." And that was it. He flew up the next day, and we went to the pub, and that was the start of our going to the pub and going to see Celtic and writing more songs, and then we'd have a few tipples, and we'd be in the van singing, or there'd be in the car singing, and he happened to say to me, "You're not a bad singer if I can carry a tune, right?" And he said, "I really like your voice." He said, "Who's singing the demos next?" I play him some tracks. I said, "Well, that's me." He said, "Right, get a band together. You're coming on tour." I was like, "Okay." So we got a band together, and our first shows were in these stadiums, playing to 40,000 people a day. Wow. He would introduce us, we'd go on. It was nuts, It was just the greatest. That was our band, Johnny Mack and the Faithful. And that's how you open for Rod Stewart. And Rod would come on and do a song, and it'd be on the screens, and amazing. And you're never going to meet a nicer guy who is no airs and graces, does everything to help you. And I've seen him doing a lot for other people that he doesn't. It's all on the down low. Great person.
No, indeed. I hope Rod's watching this.
Yes.
So that's what Simon Cowell, we've got Rod Stewart. They're all watching it. You're watching Rod.
Yeah.
Now, I believe you were once upstaged by a Rolling Stone legend. How did that come about?
Yeah, that was again with Rod. We've done the stadium tours, and then that went brilliant. Well, my worry about playing with Rod Stewart is you're playing with Rod Stewart, right? How are you ever going to compete in any shape or form with that? But Rod said, no, come and do these shows. He said, and just play the kind of songs that you. So our band kind of sounds like the Pogues, and it's kind of very Celtic-y and a bit punky. But the thing it does do, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and everybody's in, right? And away you go, fiddles, accordions, and all that. And Rod's fans loved it. So, because my worry was people are going to go, who is this guy? It's like, who are this band and why are they supporting? But we got on great and it worked brilliantly. Yeah. So Rod then asked us to go and do the arena tours. So we've done all these arena tours opening for Rod. And they would ultimately end up with a November, December tour. And we'd usually end up, this sounds very blasé, you'd do 4 nights in the O2 in London, as you do. And then you go and play at Rod's Christmas party. And the first time we'd done that was in his house just outside London there, which is incredible, as you can imagine. Full-blown football park, all designed around Celtic. He's got the old Celtic dugouts and all that. It's amazing. And so we're the house band playing all the songs in Rod's living room, if you can call it that. And we're playing away and he says, I've got a wee present for you. I said, okay, great. He says, go and start again. So we go on and we're doing a few songs. And he shouts over, do ooh la la. I'm like, okay. We're playing away and doing ooh la la, and a door opens and Ronnie Wood runs in and somebody hands him a guitar and he jumps up and he starts joining us for ooh la la. So, and we were all like, so incredible. So yeah, got to perform with Ronnie Woods as well, and Kenny, the drummer from the Faces as well. So you're playing with basically the Faces, you know, so it was incredible.
I had in my notes here, that must have been a pinch me moment for a wee boy from Milton. But I tell you what, all through your story, you must be constantly pinching yourself, John.
Well, I don't know what, I must have stood in something very, very lucky when I was young, and that luck stayed with me. I'm totally appreciative of the mad things that just seem to turn up. But yeah, it's great. It's good. Life is good.
You make your own luck as well. Now, you're the curator and lead singer in tribute to your late great friend Shane MacGowan from the Pogues, and it's went on to be an incredible success. Tell us a bit more about that, John.
Well, that I've worked with Shane through the years. As I say, I made this Best Days of Our Lives record for Celtic. It was to celebrate the Lisbon Lions, one of the anniversaries, because we grew up. That was, my dad with the Lisbon Lions were it. Jimmy Johnston was my hero and stuff. So very old. And so I wanted to. I was living in London, and I think that thing when you move away, and you had to be in London for the record business at that time. You kind of hanker more for things that mean a lot to you, Scotland and Glasgow and Celtic. So because there wasn't Sky and all that, but you weren't getting lots of the Celtic games, and there was no real internet thing per se. So you're missing the games, and I came up with the idea of making a record for Celtic. We'd done this record, and I see we'd great people on it to give it the publicity to try and get it to chart. But I was desperate to get Shane MacGowan in it, purely for selfish reasons. I loved the Pogues, and I loved Shane, and I thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to meet Shane. So I phoned his publisher, a great guy called Liam Teeling, and I said, I'm doing this record. Do you think Shane would be interested in getting involved? And he phoned back and went, yeah, Shane's up for it, Celtic fan, and he liked the song. So I was really nervous, as you can imagine, sending Shane MacGowan one of your songs. This guy who's probably going to go down as one of the greatest writers of all time, and deservedly so. So he came back and I said great. So we're recording the final part of it on the Friday, and then on the Saturday, it'd be great if Shane wanted to come up to Celtic game. Celtic can win the league the next day, and he can come into the park and we can perform this song. So I was doing that anyway, and I said, yeah. I said, if I was you, I'd probably book the flight for a week Saturday. That way you get some chance of getting him there. I was like, okay. So that's what happened. So I booked this flight and he never turned up. Never turned up on the Saturday, the Sunday, the Monday, the Tuesday. The Wednesday afternoon, he was at the airport and they wouldn't let him on the flight. Thursday, he turned up, missed his first flight. He turned up on the Thursday afternoon. And we went straight to the pub. And it was great in the pub. And we got on really great and drinking and laughing and having a great old time. And I had a wee half-sized acoustic guitar because he likes to write in the pub. So that was it. So we're batting out. You know, I was trying to teach him this bit, teach him, show him this bit of this song. And we went to the studio and recorded it, and we got on great with that. We said, well, let's write more. So we started writing these. We wrote a song called Tomorrow Belongs to Me, which I'm very, very proud of. And through the years, I just got to hang out with Shane and got to meet him in London and Ireland, and we made some mental records.
I bet you was eventful nights.
Oh, try to remember them. Luckily, I've got loads and loads of photographs. And my mate's a videographer, and he was a big Pogues fan, so he wanted to video everything. Yeah. So we've got loads of great footage, and we've had some great time. I think it's probably one of the few times where my beautiful wife Sharon, who's been on the journey with me, I think that's probably one of the few times where she's phoned and said, "Where are you? And when are you coming home? This is day 5 or whatever." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to try and go home tomorrow." But she understood. Shane MacGowan, legend and one of my heroes. So yes, I got to work with Shane on different projects. We made a record for the 3 priests who are signed to Sony. The 3 real priests,
right? Okay,
and they sell millions and millions of records. And they were making a Christmas record, and I decided we should do Little Drummer Boy with Shane MacGowan. And if you've not heard that, go and check it out. It's incredible. We made a video for it and all that. So you get these 3 priests who sing kind of classical crossover, you know, come they told me, and then it's Shane, hey, you were king to say, he's fag, and the video is amazing. Shades, he's like the Irish Elvis. He's just, so I had the greatest times with Shane, and unfortunately, I knew he was ill, but with Shane, there was always this kind of false sense of security. You think he's never going to go because he's you know, he's indestructible. But unfortunately, I knew his wife, Victoria, she's a beautiful soul, and she'd phoned and said he's not very well. And we were away in America with the Bayside Rollers when he passed, so I never got to see him at that time. And when we come home, I thought, well, I want to do something. I want to do something just to my little salute to Shane. And then we were going to do a wee gig in Glasgow and a wee gig in London, and it turned into this thing. A friend of mine said, well, why don't you do it as part of the Edinburgh Festival? And then that'll be a real kind of tribute to him. And I thought, well, let's do that then as a little thing. And I had no idea we were going to do one night. It ended up being 9. We had to do matinees and all that. And it's just me telling some stories. An incredible band. It's most of the guys from Johnny Mack and the Faithful. And so we try to capture the sound of the Pogues from those early days, from the kind of mid-80s. So it's kind of rough and ready. Tell a few stories. We show some great pictures, and Shane's wife Victoria came over for some of it, and she's got great stories as well, obviously, and a great advocate of Irish music and of Shane's legacy. So we're continuing that, and it's just grown arms and legs now. We've got our tour in April. That's we're playing in St Luke's on the 17th in Glasgow, and then we're on to Dundee, Beat Generator the next night, I think, on the 18th. And then we're in Aberdeen on the 20th and Edinburgh on the 21st, La Belle and Gel. Wow. So we've got that, and then we're off to Europe with it, doing the Netherlands, Amsterdam, then we're going to Paris. And so it's great. We're having the greatest time with it. And I'm so proud because these are the greatest songs I'm to sing. Can you imagine? The band are great, and it's my mates. We have the greatest time, and I get to tell stories about a hero, Shane MacGowan. You know, it's great.
Absolutely incredible. So you mentioned a few dates there that you're going to be doing. Mm-hmm. Anything happening with the Bayside Rollers?
Yeah, we're always on tour with the Bayside Rollers. We just finished a little stint there in Ireland, which was incredible. We're over in Cork, playing at the Cork Opera House, and we sold that out. We're playing in Mayo. So Ireland love the Bayside Rollers. It's incredible. Really? And we do a lot in Europe as well. We're going to we're playing festivals right through the summer here and abroad. We're off to Canada,
Wow.
North America. So yeah, always with the rollers, there's always stuff going on.
My sister lives in Australia, right?
Yeah,
My older sister. She lives in Melbourne. She'll be watching this,
right.
right? She wants a Bay City Rollers down in Melbourne.
Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
That might be next year. We've also got our Bay City Rollers musical,
Yeah.
which is in the pavilion. That runs for 15 nights. That's called
Wow.
Rollers Forever, and that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. It's like I've read the script. It's really funny. It's great. It's about two women who have not seen each other, and they're big Rollers fans. So it features all the big hits of the Rollers, and so that's in the pavilion. That runs from August through, and I think that's going to go UK wide. It's the success of that. We had to add 5 extra dates to that. So yeah, that's
Incredible.
everything in Rollers world is great.
Indeed, and we'll be putting all the stuff up on screen as well and on
Brilliant.
social media where people can find you. Because anybody watching this today will be banging the doors down to go and see some of your stuff.
Thank
Johnny,
you. I hope
absolutely
so.
incredible. Now, finally,
Mhm.
what advice? You've had an incredible story from the Milton to Rod Stewart to the to working with Shane MacGowan to Westlife to Busted to Simon Cowell. My goodness, the list goes on and on. Any young magician watching this today, what advice would you give them, Johnny?
I think the thing is to just have total and utter belief in yourself,
Mhm.
and I think you need to work hard. I think that's the. I think I see a lot of people with talent, and maybe the thing is probably you're talking about football players, talking to Tony and all that. That maybe the talent isn't enough. I think you need to wake up early in the morning, set an alarm, get up, work on it day and night. It needs to be in your mind all the time. You need to go to your bed thinking about it and wake up in the morning thinking about it. You need to be so driven because you're not just competing against other guys in Glasgow or other guys in Manchester. You're competing against a world of music, especially the way it is now, Spotify, YouTube, and you get more opportunities, but you've got to fight harder to get above the noise. So I think you need to work so hard at it. And also as well, I think you need to be honest with yourself. You're doing something that's not quite working, look at other things around it. See, I was in bands that couldn't get record deals, so I've kind of flipped to songwriting, and it takes you down other avenues into record production, being on the telly and all that. So I think also be aware that if something isn't working, be honest with yourself and look at the reasons why it's not working. And there might be an offshoot of that that's going to take you a slightly different path, but will ultimately get to where you want to be. But you can't be being obsessed by it. I think people who are obsessed by stuff tend to be the ones who get there and enjoy it. It's got to be the greatest fun. If it's fun and you work hard at it, you're going to get some kind of result.
Well, talking about enjoying, Johnny, that was an fantastic, incredible, mind-blowing, inspiring. The viewers, honestly, are going to absolutely love this.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
A joy.
Thank you.
A joy.
I'll just put my hand over here. Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries.
It's been an absolute
Anytime.
pleasure.
Anytime.
Johnny Mack. That's our show for Chit Chat with Jed and Co, the show where everyone has their say. Can we ask you please subscribe free to our YouTube channel, comment and give us a like. Today's show comes from Studio 23 and is sponsored by St Mirren legend Tony Fitzpatrick's Legacy Comps Prize Bonanza. Please give them a follow, legacycomps.com. Thank you for watching.